All right, I'm live. All right, guys, what's going on? This is Aaron from Metro East Libertarians. Back on the live streaming thing. So tonight I'm going to bring you some stuff. I'm going to be doing several of these videos, and one of the things I am going to do is I'm going to start streaming these to YouTube first. And I'll tell you the reason that I'm going to do that is that YouTube, first of all, allows me to stream in 1080p, so you need better video quality. The other thing is, we're not really picking up a lot of viewers on Facebook, and so instead of putting it on Facebook and then putting a lower quality video on YouTube, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to put a higher quality video on YouTube and then post that over on the Facebook. That really doesn't affect any of you, probably. Oh, and the other thing is, on YouTube, I can detach the chat window, and then with that chat window detached, it's not using up all my bandwidth for me shipping out the stream and then bringing it back in over the same internet connection. So, a little bit of technical mumbo jumbo. Again, probably doesn't mean anything to you guys, but the thing is, that's going to be, it's going to be better for me. The quality's going to be better. Everything's going to be better. All right, so if you join the stream, go ahead and say hi. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is crap. There's a guy named Jon Allan Stewart who is seeking the Libertarian Party of Illinois' nomination. He went on a program called Bruce DuMont. Well, he went on a program with Bruce DuMont. I don't remember what the thing is called, but it was back in May of 2016. So these video clips I'm going to play are from May, so keep that in mind, where the presidential campaign was at that time and the things that were floating around. But basically, so Jon Allan Stewart, he's a businessman from Chicago. He works in used cars, and don't think I'm hating on used car dealers. One of my neighbors is a used car dealer. I've got a lot of respect for him. He's a great guy. I think used car dealers probably get a bad rap. You know, just like lawyers, how 99% of lawyers give the rest a bad name. Bad joke. Anyway, so he's a businessman from Chicago, former pro wrestler. Wikipedia says that he's believed to be the only person in history to play in an NCAA football game and a professional wrestling event in the same day. So, I mean, I gotta say, man, I've had weeks that aren't nearly that productive. So, the guy's got my respect for doing that. I mean, that's pretty crazy stuff right there. All right, so let's get into this. Basically, the picture I'm going to paint here, I'm not really arguing for or against Jon Allan Stewart. He is a former Republican, and that's kind of what I want to couch that, kind of keep that in mind. He's going to come over with some libertarian ideas. I mean, that's unavoidable. But then the remainder of the question is, how well does he, speak to libertarianism, basically? I mean, when he's out there on the campaign trail, is he gonna say the things that we're gonna find agreeable or not? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna play this first clip from the Bruce DuMont show again last May. Let's check this out.
Jon Allan Stewart joins us. Jon Allan, you've been on this program. You have run as a Republican congressional candidate. You're a former professional wrestler.
That's right.
When I spoke to you a couple of weeks ago, you said you were for John Kasich because you knew John Kasich. But right now, you are on the Trump train. You're on the bandwagon now. Why?
I am. Well, because I'm a fiscal conservative. I think that without a doubt, the single greatest national security risk to this country is our debt and the monetization of the debt by the Federal Reserve. John, I'm a guy, and I've said this in my professional wrestling career and in politics and in my life as a businessman. I'm a guy that walks my talk. I don't believe, don't tell me what you're going to do. Show me what you're going to do. And John Kasich was one of the ones that balanced the budget, along with people like Newt Gingrich, and I respect that. And the fact that Donald Trump also believes that our debt is one of the biggest national security threats is something that I hold to. It's not only a national security threat, it is an insult to that I'm a citizen. It's an insult to my children. It's an insult to my future grandchildren if I'm so blessed to have those, that we have accrued such a debt that basically this country is bankrupt. And the head of the
Stopped.
GOA has gone around the country for the past 4 years telling everyone, our accountant, that we are bankrupt.
Okay, so there's a couple things in there. First of all, he says he knows John Kasich, and that's why he's in favor of John Kasich. Okay, so right away, for someone who joined the Libertarian Party of Illinois in August 2010, he doesn't seem to realize the damage that John Kasich did to the Libertarian Party of Ohio. So, or maybe he's just not speaking to those people, but I mean, I have a major problem with that. You know, if you're going to spend $300,000 to screw the Libertarian Party of Ohio out of their ballot status, and then there's still lasting repercussions for that. I mean, the state of Ohio cheated them again this year, saying that they didn't allow Gary Johnson to run as a Libertarian, and then they turned around and said, well, Gary Johnson wasn't a Libertarian candidate, so you guys don't get ballot access because he did so well. I mean, it's just crooked as anything, and to sing that guy's praises really kind of makes me upset. At any rate, so we see here he's on the Trump train, okay, and that also sort of belies this tweet that he did. He put this out.
Jon Allan.
Correct. In January, where so he's saying he's in the Republican Party, right? So it's kind of interesting. See if I can do that without starting that video again. All right, I'm messing this up. Okay, so we're going to go to the next clip, and let's see what this is. Oh, this clip is going to be Bruce DuMont saying that there's third parties around and asking people if they're supporting third parties. I'm only putting this in there because I was wondering if the format of this show, they weren't really talking about third parties, but there's another gentleman that you'll hear talking about third parties, and then here's Bruce DuMont saying
Okay, 1-800-723-8289 from coast to coast and border to border. We're talking about the campaign coming up. And also, if you're listening to the program this evening and you have decided you are for not the Republican, not the Democrat, but for a third party or a fourth party candidate, or you favor a third party, we want to hear from you tonight.
Okay, so clearly it's on the table. Clearly they're talking about it. I just wanted to point that out. All right, so let's go to the next clip.
What about the idea that Bill Kristol is trying to float, along with Mitt Romney and others, for a third party, a conservative Republican third party option? Where do you come down on that idea?
It's an interesting logistical play, and that is if a third party candidate of whatever stripe could win enough states, even if it could just be a few, but if they're key states, they could deny either a major party candidate from getting a majority. And then there's going to be a real quick civics lesson across the country when people are going to find out that if no one gets an electoral majority, that it gets thrown to the House of Representatives, where the House votes by delegation. And the Republicans presently control either 33 or 34 delegations.
Would Trump win that race?
I think if Mitt Romney, for instance, had a dozen or 24 electoral votes, he could, or John Kasich, if he were a favorite son of Ohio or something, could become
what do you
president.
think of that idea?
All right, so so I got a comment from Holly. Green screen covers this. I'm sorry about the green screen. My studio space is kind of messed up right now. I am going to go to a format where I'm not keying and I'm not going to have this annoying background. So I apologize for that part of the content. All right, so you guys have heard this theory, the third-party theory that was being floated in May. And, of course, it sort of revolves around the Republicans, right? So, but anyway, he's going to go to Jon Allan Stewart, and let's see what John has to say about this.
Yeah, John.
I
think it's unlikely.
I'm going to have to repeat this because my brain is fried already. So the Republicans, in their infinite wisdom, want to have a third-party candidate. Basically, he's not going to win that many states for it to be thrown into the House. I can guarantee you that. But what he's going to do, what the Republicans will end up doing, is putting Hillary into the White House because they're going to take votes away from Trump.
No, but they're
All right, so here he's using the default argument that, you know, Trump, a bunch of these votes belong to Trump, and basically saying, you know, third party is going to be a spoiler, even though he's claiming the third party is going to be, you know, Mitt Romney, which was the subject there. I'm not saying he was claiming that, but that makes me question, you know, if you're going to say that about the presidential race, and I'm completely on board with the idea that we're not going to win the presidency. I mean, let's be honest. Maybe that's where he's arguing from. But that makes me question why he wants to run for governor as a libertarian. Okay, so let's go to this next clip. There's one of these that I'm going to skip.
I think those 15% of those Obama votes.
Yeah, we're going to skip that one. There's nothing to that. All right, let's check
One more
this one
thing
out.
to it, and that is, to your guests that are there,
Yeah, this is a caller. This is
who
good
is
stuff.
the anti-war candidate? Because it's not the Democrats or the Republicans. Who is the anti-police state? It's not the Democrats or the Republicans. And to the person that was talking about fiscal sanity, you mean the former governor of New Mexico that was 2-1 Democratic, got reelected, and balanced the budget for a solid 8 years? You're gonna run him against a Donald Trump? Come on, be honest. The person with the executive experience in this race actually turns out to be the libertarian.
I agree with the caller. You know, as an outside candidate for myself, for my two runs for Congress, it always bothered me that they would say, you know, the professional wrestler and he's the underdog or he doesn't have any money. And, you know, the media has a lot of power with people. And if you're going to bring up a candidate and then immediately bring up that they might not have any chance or not even bring up the candidates, not even bring up certain parties at all, like you said, the Libertarian Party or the Green Party, I have a tremendous amount of I have a problem with that. I mean, that's just not fair, and that's just not part of the political process.
Okay, so, you know, that's cool. So he's kind of bringing it back around. So I do like that. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he is saying that it should be more fair. For clarification, though, when he was an outsider candidate, he was a Republican at those times. So, you know, let's be honest there. All right, so let's cut to this.
in the general election, John.
If he keeps pushing it, yes, it will. I mean, you're talking about ripping, 10 million people out of their homes.
Okay, so this is
First of all,
immigration.
that's never going to happen. The American people will never stand for it. It's the only thing I have. I do agree with strong borders. We should have done it right after 9/11. I do agree with building a wall, but displacing 10 million people is just not possible. One thing Donald Trump has not realized, and I've not heard yet in 9 months anyone of the pundits talking about it. You're going to take 10 million basically Mexicans out of this country, and Donald Trump is in the real estate industry. You figure we're going to take about 1 million Mexicans or Latin American people out of Illinois. What do you think that's going to do to the real estate industry? Do you think it'll help it or collapse it? Take 1 million people out of Chicago. Do you think it's going to help the auto industry or collapse the auto industry? These are two of the biggest industries in the country. And here's Donald Trump, this, real estate industrialist. And I don't think he realizes that displacing and taking 10 million people out of this country is pretty much just going to dismantle the real estate.
Okay, so he's kind of arguing there that Donald Trump should realize out of his own self-interest that massive deportation is a bad idea. I don't necessarily want to get into all the ins and outs of libertarian immigration policy and everything. And you know what? Quite honestly, immigration policy isn't going to be a part of any governor's candidate's campaign. Maybe they will get questions about it, but I'm not going to make a big deal of that. I just find it interesting, the argument that he was making. All right, let's see what's next.
And give us their intellectual.
But
ability.
illegal immigration is completely stressing the healthcare industry. It is completely stressing the government services because $30 billion a year goes back to Mexico and doesn't stay in this country, and they don't pay.
But many,
for a lot of the
I have.
taxes.
Okay, so this argument I find very tired. It's a very standardized Republican kind of argument, and it does make me a little hesitant. So the argument that he's making is that illegal immigrants are not paying taxes. That is demonstrably untrue. immigrants do pay taxes, the vast majority, first of all, if you're saying that illegal immigrants work in low-paid, unskilled labor under the table, probably not making a ton of money anyway. So they're going to be in the range where they either wouldn't owe any income tax, or they would not be, or they'd be eligible for like an earned income credit. Now, Medicaid and Social Security is another thing. Some of these people are working under false Social Security numbers, which, is fraud. But at the same time, if it's not their Social Security number, that means they're paying Social Security that they'll never be able to collect. Okay? Or maybe they'll pay some Social Security and then leave the country and not collect it anyway. There is emigration of people going back to their native lands because the American economy is, not in the best shape right now. But anyway, this whole, part of what he's saying there, they're using the schools, they're using the hospitals, they haven't paid for them. Hospitals, okay, maybe. Schools, they're paying property taxes. You can't live in an area and not pay property tax. And they're definitely paying sales taxes as well. Okay, you can't get around those things. If you know how to get around those things, tell me. Maybe I need to learn these people's native tongue and, get some tips from them or something. Come on now. All right, let's see what we got left here.
Wants the cheap labor.
From a businessman's perspective, we don't have the money to deport everybody. You've left the door open for 50 years. You've given everybody a wink. Come on in. This is the simple solution, okay? We need to stop the flow of money back into Mexico. So you take the 10 million illegal immigrants, you give them driver's license, you give them Social Security cards, you give them a 10-year reprieve on collecting on the benefits so they can put back into the system. You're taking the Verify system off the table. You're now putting all those people on the rolls of who they are, where they live, what their name is. You're giving them a social. You've let them in the country. Now you're going to penalize me as a business person to get rid of this labor, and you're going to take my tax dollars to throw them out of the country when you've let them in.
You're missing.
I want their money to pay for the health care, to pay for the schools. I'm sick of paying for it when they are not, and their children are using my services that I pay for. You let them in the door. Now give them the opportunity to participate in the system without throwing.
I got your
them back
point.
in the country.
Yeah, so I kind of jumped ahead, I guess, on some of the stuff he was saying with, he paid for services, other people using them. He doesn't agree with that. Look, man, I guess. Anyway, so in my opinion, he's going to have to demonstrate that he's got a very firm grasp on libertarian positions. Now, again, I'm not saying that because he's a former Republican, I don't think we should support it. I'm not saying that the answers that he gave in this program would preclude me from supporting him. But if you've seen some of my other videos, I was very critical of some of the previous campaigns that we've had, and I think that we need to basically keep an eye on the door. This is going to be a banner year for libertarians. We have a lot of localized candidates. I think we're going to win several of these local races in the 2017 consolidated elections. When we do that, those libertarians will go into office and they'll start to build credibility for our brand. That's one of the major things that we've been missing up until this point. Nobody knows a libertarian in their local government. Or if they do, I've heard some other people say that they do know libertarians in the local government, but they're like quacks or crazy. And it's weird because I don't know any crazy libertarians, but then everybody else that I know, every libertarian they know is nuts. So I don't know. Maybe I just don't think other libertarians are nuts and other people do. That's a real possibility. The other thing I was going to say, like I say, I'm going to start doing these videos more often. There was a candidate event here in Collinsville, and I'm going to chop up those, and I'm going to run a video on those. Hopefully this week, if not next week, and really cover some issues. I mean, there's some, everywhere we look, there's controversy. There was stuff happening down in East St. Louis with some party buses and early voters. Looks like some illegal activities. There may have been illegal activity at this Collinsville voter forum. It's just really interesting. And the other thing was, I was down there as a candidate. As you guys know, I'm running for the recreation district here in Collinsville, and I was talking to the voters. I didn't really talk to too many voters. It seemed like they were more interested in the township candidates and the city council candidates, which I understand because those are contested races, and so they actually have to make a choice who they're going to vote for. But I got a different story from everybody. I had one guy actually gave me like the move to Somalia argument. Basically, like, you don't want to pay property taxes to support all these programs that he favors. Not even just parks, I mean programs. Then you need to move out of the city into the country where you don't have anything. And I'm like, well, I kind of live in the country and I'm still paying for the park, so I'm not really sure. You find a place that I can go live, I don't have to pay all these property taxes, let me know. Maybe I didn't do my research. But anyway, like I say, I'm going to be bringing those issues to you. I appreciate you watching. Holly, thanks for the comment. Sorry about the green screen. Next video I do, I'm going to use like more of a standard background. My recording space is kind of in flux. And again, like I say, these are going to go straight to YouTube from here out. So I'll stream them to YouTube and then I'll post them back on Facebook. That said, we're also going to stream the LPI convention this year. So stay tuned in for that. All right, guys, thanks for watching.